Welcome everyone to the Power Play YouTube channel. Hope everyone's doing well today. We are at open mic number 229, and we're going to be discussing the latest Wisconsin DOJ open record. Well, it's actually a release that was, I guess, from what they're saying, is because of all the requests they've had for open records requests, different files, et cetera, et cetera. So over the last several months, they've created this release, I guess you could call it, of at least some files, a lot of redactions. So we're going to be going over that. And so far today, I think Doc's going to try to join us later too, but we got Sunshine and Susan. So Sunshine, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's a beautiful day.
You got your avatar to work. Look at you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Nice. I'm like making progress, figuring out all the updates and changes that have occurred in just a year. Technology is really advancing leaps and bounds, I've noticed. Because there's just been an extreme. Do you feel like that? Or maybe it's just me, because like I had a year where I wasn't able to see it gradually. But
well, StreamYard has certainly made a lot of helpful changes to their platform to help us, but yeah, I can't say. Yeah, there's been some, but I can't say too many. But yeah, definitely some.
And not just StreamYard, Discord, even like Microsoft, because this laptop has 11 Pro, and the changes from Windows 10 to 11 Pro are like, for me.
Oh yeah, from Windows 10 to 11 Pro, which is what I've got. I've had Windows 11 for a long time, so yeah, for you, yeah, that would be a lot of changes. Oh yeah.
And so I'm having to I'm having to adjust to that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a major update between 10 and 11, and there's actually another update to Windows 11, but I've been told not to download it yet because there's major problems with it.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
What's that? Windows
update, what? There's an update to Windows 11. It's called 24. The latest update that's been running for a while is 23 whatever letter acronyms they put with it. But there's another update that's already been released. It's 24. It's the next step up, but there's been a lot of problems with it. And
I didn't know that. Good to know.
Until they fix it, I'm not updating. I'm not doing it. Anyway. So okay. Well, thank you so much, Christina. And how are you today, Susan?
Oh, I'm good. Just not home from work not too long ago. A little tired, but I'm fine.
Well, I'm glad you could join us. Now, I'm going to pop this on the screen. I don't have any interest in, I guess, trying to necessarily finish this today because it's so long. A lot of it we're going to skip because it's redundant. And I will tell you, once we get into it, there's a lot of repeating, I guess is the best way to say it, in the records in the DCI reports themselves. There's a lot of records that they're in one report. For some reason, they're also included in another report for whatever reason they felt like they needed to do that. So you see the same record or attachment that you just saw before. It's a little irritating, but there are some new photos that are included in this. But I thought it would be interesting to start and at least read some of this, of what the cover letter that they attached. This is dated October 11th, but if it was on their website on the 11th, I didn't see it. Now, I didn't check it every day. I didn't, because I really thought I would get an email from the DOJ because like I said last night, I've got 4 or 5 open records requests that haven't been fulfilled yet.
As
with
do
DOJ.
I. As do I. And I
Oh.
haven't heard from them in months over them.
Yeah, even when I asked for status update, I got nothing at all. The thing is that, I know most people don't request records. I know Sunshine Christina gets that as well. And and that's fine. Not asking anyone to do it unless they're just so inclined. However, for those of us that do request records, we followed the process, their process. This is not something that Christina and myself and others out there just made up. I just expect them to follow their own guidelines. And they're so far off their own guidelines that it's not even funny. Unless something's changed policy-wise that they've not published. Because I've looked and I haven't found it. Now there is an updated, I don't know if you know this or not, Christina, but there is a 2024 updated open records guidelines that they released. Been out for several months now.
No, I didn't know about it.
I'll send you a copy.
Okay.
Any big changes there, Jack?
Not that I can tell. Certainly not from the standpoint of saying, well, instead of honoring an open records request, we'll just make a release of what we feel like that we're going to release, and not a neener on you. If that's what it is, then there should be corresponding changes to their open records laws. So,
right.
And you'll see these kind of stated in this cover letter. I'm not going to read all this, or we're not going to read all this. I want to have you guys help me, but I think we should read some of it to get started. Anyway, folks in the live chat. Oh, before I say this, the live last night, I don't know how many of you are aware of this, that have maybe tried to do or have went and did the rewatch on the Reading with the Crew last night.
I noticed there was no chat.
Yeah, the videos, the clips we showed at the end, those came from Making a Murderer, and they blocked after, I don't know, an hour or so. I don't know how long it was exactly. It wasn't very long because the doc texted me. They blocked our video.
What?
Wow.
Yeah.
Blocked it.
Yeah, blocked it. It wasn't just like, you can't monetize it. You're blocked. So the only choice was to either just let it remain blocked or edit out the 2 clips. So that's what we talked about it, and ended up just going in and taking those clips out. So, but once you remove something, you edit a live broadcast, you lose the live chat. That's just the way it is. Yeah.
So there is a lot of issues with videos in this YSL trial. I've noticed that people are actually trying to go to court to get their own clip to then post on social media. And I'm not sure if it's because of like what you're saying with MAM, like the MAM clips, but clearly there's something going on because of monetization and all of that. I'm wondering if they haven't changed, because used to we could do rebuttals, right? After 2 minutes, like under 2 minutes or 3 minutes.
Yeah. But as we found out in the camera rebuttals, they, for some reason, are not honoring that. No matter what I said to YouTube, it's a rebuttal. We're allowed to rebut what someone else has said as long as the clips are under. But it was ignored, completely ignored. So,
and another thing that I've seen people do and they've had better success with is videoing it onto a third, like, so let's say you want to use a clip from MAM, take a device and record the clip off of your screen onto your phone or whatever, and then take that clip from your phone and put it into your rebuttal video. Does that, did I say that?
no, yeah, but I still think if like
Okay.
if that video that you shot was on a law and crime broadcast, it's still theirs. It's still their
Yep.
broadcast. Yeah. So
I,
there are
so
there
I
are
wonder,
there are ways
go ahead.
there are ways around it. I'm not going to broadcast what they are because I'm not going to encourage anyone to break a copyright thing. But I understand what people are doing. If the courtroom has their own video feed, audio, and that's recorded, for that county or state, that is a public record, right? So from that standpoint, if that's what's going on, it being a public trial, there's absolutely no reason somebody shouldn't be able to do their open records request to request that clip or that day or whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what they're doing, Christine. I'm not sure.
And then I know as long as you credit them, like courtesy of, I've seen a lot of people do that whenever they use someone else's video, courtesy of, and they put whatever.
Yeah, there's another thing on YouTube that a lot of times happens with music videos, and that's sharing of the content, any ad money or whatever. The creator that puts, like say you use music from someone that says, okay, you can use my music, but I'm going to get 80% of any ad money or whatever the number is. I'm just saying there are instances where that does happen, and the person that uploads it, they get a small amount, generally a pretty small amount, but whatever. For a lot of people, it's not about the ad money; they just want to share their whatever. So I have seen that happen, but for most of our stuff, we're just we're not. The ad money affords us to be able to do a lot of different things. Pay for the website, just pay for open records. It's not really it was never really part of what we ever intended. Certainly for me, I was so guarded against that kind of thing because of all the horror stories. I know a lot of people haven't been around as long as I have, and I'm not bragging. I'm not. But in 2016, 2017, 2018, I saw so many people trying to make money off of Stephen and Brendan. And just for personal gain. It wasn't to help them, Stephen and Brendan, it was to help that person doing it. People got ripped off. I was so guarded.
Go
ahead.
Also, people that weren't doing it for personal gain, getting accused of doing that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was and still am a moderator on Reddit TTM, and we were accused of taking public funds for ourselves, getting records from the state of Wisconsin, and withholding the record. And none of that ever happened at all. It never happened. It was crazy.
Right.
Anyway, I got off on a tangent there. Anyway, let's go through this at least to some degree. I have no interest or plan to read all this, but we definitely should read some of it because I have problems with some of what they're saying here. So anyway, I'll start this off and then we'll just kind of trade back and forth till we get the gist of this, and we're going to move on. So this says it was written at least on October 11th. We didn't see these records until last week. Okay. I think it was last Tuesday. Anyway, it says, to whom it may concern, in response to the public records request received by the Wisconsin Department of Justice, a copy of the DOJ's Division of Criminal Investigation, DCI investigation, case files for the DCI's investigation into the 2005 disappearance and homicide of Theresa Halbach, for which Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey were convicted, was prepared for release. Okay. Susan, you want to read this next section?
Sure. The DCI case files are 051776, Theresa Marie Halbach, and 051785, DCI assist violent crime, related to 051776. The investigative case files were reviewed in preparation for public release, and a copy of the investigative case file written records has been made available online on the Wisconsin Department of Justice's website at such and such. Due to the significant number of materials within these investigative files, only the written records are being provided at this time. Additional digital records from the investigative case files are in the process of being reviewed and will be posted to the DOJ website once the review is completed.
Christina, before I have you read the next section, I want to say something about this. I'm going to keep it brief. I swear to God. They're saying they've got digital files or files that have been converted to a digital format. That's exactly what the bulk of these are. Say, DCI agent, they'll just say Deb Strauss goes and interviews someone and uses a micro cassette to record that interview. And I don't have a problem with that. At some point, those get turned over to their audio video engineers, and they convert it to a DVD or CD and an MP3. So anyone can pop it into their computer and listen to the interview. Pretty standard throughout this entire process. If you read the DCI reports, you'll see this numerous times within their own reports. Okay. That said, many, if in my opinion, and probably most of these files have already been converted years ago. I know many of them have because they've been released. He's trying to say that they haven't already been reviewed. I know personally, and I know of others too. We requested an audio file, and you get blah blah blah. We have records responsive to your request. However, it must be reviewed for blah 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 blah. Been getting these responses for years. There is no way these files haven't been reviewed. These audio clips, whatever they are, there is no way.
Right.
Now, if they're going through and redacting date of birth or their first phone number and address, which that's possible, but I really have a difficult time believing it. If it, this says, I'm sure in somewhere in here, probably it's on down. If we make it there, we may not. They're going to make a release of audio files. At the same time, I personally have requested audio files. One of them is 26, almost 27 months old, and I still don't have it. So I don't care what they say here. How can that take away? How does that alter their as records records custodians, their responsibility to release the record to me? I don't understand how they've been able to get away with it, but they have. Anyway, Christine, if you want to read this next section, certain information.
Certain information. Oh, hold on. Certain information was redacted from the records, either because specifically required by law or pursuant to the Wisconsin statute public records balancing test. That phrase. These redactions are described below. In addition, these records were prepared for release, mindful that the purpose of the Wisconsin public records law is to shed light on the workings of government and the official acts of public offices and employees. And it references a case. Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, you can read this next section.
All right. Well-established public policy recognizes the privacy rights of a deceased person's surviving loved ones. References another case. In preparing these records for release, the Wisconsin statute public records balancing test was applied, and the public interest in treating surviving loved ones of the deceased with respect for their privacy and dignity outweighed any public interest in disclosure of the following records. All right.
Okay. Well, I want to talk about this a little bit. You see it noted, it references Wisconsin statute 1935, and it gives the subsection 1A. The Wisconsin Public Records covers 1932 through 1938, 37 or 38, I can't remember. And there, within the statute, there are a number of subsections for each one. So unless something's changed, see, they're taking this extra step of saying, well, you know, we've got extra we're going to add to this. Hey, Doc.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Well, we're just kind of getting
Hey,
started because
Hey, Susan. Hey, Sunshine.
we're kind of mouthy, so.
Oh yeah.
But you know, this is we're just going through this form letter that they added to this. So anyway, getting back to this particular heading, they've decided that people that are mentioned in these DCI requests have loved ones, so we're going to redact X, Y, and Z, and people have to judge that for themselves if that's right or wrong. I've never seen this before, so you know, I guess I can see some of it on one side, but there's another part of me that says, okay, if they were involved, if that person that's now passed away was involved, it doesn't really have anything much to do with their loved ones. And I'm not trying to be cruel or anything like that at all.
Well, how about the return of the bones?
Well, yeah. I'm not going to discuss that.
I think that using the victim and the victim's family is a tactic that we have seen by Wisconsin for a lot of reasons why they don't want to do what they should do by law. It's very convenient to say we're trying to be, you know, mindful of the victim and the victim's family. But at the end of the day, when it comes to, do you see how they performed a balancing test, but yet they don't mention that this is involving a man that was wrongfully convicted of a crime where they used the victim in that case as an excuse for why it happened, right? And it's like we don't even talk about that unless we need a reason to, you know, blame Stephen Avery for something. The victim is just an excuse.
In the balancing test, you'll see that mentioned throughout this document too. They used it. They employed that many times, which to me, you get into a little bit of Ouija board and, you know, I don't know what else you'd call it, kind of thing, because what is the balancing test? What is the standard of the balancing test? I mean, you can see, I'll read this first bullet point here. The graphic descriptions of the events surrounding Theresa Halbach's death and purely personal information regarding her life. Okay, there's some things. Okay, I can, like I said, I can see being redacted and withheld. I don't really care necessarily where someone lives. I don't need their street address. I don't want their phone number. And probably in most cases, I don't care when they were born. I was talking to Doc about that and everyone about this last night. Once you remove the name, now you've just opened up a bucket. It could be anyone, right?
Yeah, but the irony here is that it's completely stacked in the favor of the state. Because if you scroll down a little bit, oh no, in fact, it's even got here where they made the comment outweighs the public interest. It basically means we have the right to redact and withhold whatever we want. And no matter what your protestations are, no matter what you believe we should release, because we have done this balancing test, as Sunshine Christina said, and it outweighs the public interest, we will redact what we see fit. But here's the irony. The ultimate irony is that did Mr. Kratz withhold any information when he did the March 2nd press conference?
Exactly.
Right? He
True,
spilled it all out.
true irony.
He spilled it all out on national television. And now they've reversed that and basically turned the tables on researchers to say, how dare you ask for documents?
Right.
And that's actually a compelling legal argument to make in
Yep.
front of the judge. If we were ever to get into a courtroom to try and obtain records. Another thing that I want to, here's another irony. So their balancing test, right? When you look at the scales of justice, her eyes are covered, right? So justice is blind. So it's supposed to be blind, right? Because it's not supposed to matter if you're wealthy or poor, male, female, all the things. Justice is justice according to the law. It's not winning or losing. It is the meting out of justice. And if it should not be used, the victim should not be used by anyone to further anything but justice for the victim. And they tell on themselves. When you're being dishonest, your words you can try and be a chameleon, as O'Kelly said, but you're not fooling anybody who has invested enough time to see what was done. You might get away with it on the first runaround, but it's only a mirage.
Well, I'm going to read this next part down, and again, I question what they're doing. Wisconsin, I guess that's Constitution. I guess that's Article I. Statute 9M provides in part that crime victims are entitled to the rights to be treated with dignity, respect, courtesy, sensitivity, and fairness, and privacy related to the statute. Recognize that these self-executing state constitutional rights must be vigorously honored by law enforcement agencies, and that crime victims include both persons against whom crimes have been committed and the family members of those persons. Family members of those persons. Now, I don't know anywhere in that any state constitution that those words are said, but at the same time, they're bringing in another part of the state constitution into an open records request. I've never seen this before, ever, nowhere. So they're bringing in another section to say, yeah, we've included this in our balancing test, so we're going to redact X, Y, and Z. I'm not naming any specific records. People are able to go through and look at this on their own and decide what they're going to redact. And the really silly part is that a lot of these records, and I won't say the bulk, but certainly a good percentage, we already have the unredacted record, and they have to know that. They have to know it, because unless they're just completely blind, right? So,
Yeah, I find that really weird.
So I'm curious, how many of them are still working in the Wisconsin who we have interacted with. Is Fallon still
Or I don't know. I don't know if he's retired or not.
okay?
Last I heard, he was still working in Dane County, but
All right,
I
because
don't
I'm
understand.
curious. I'm curious how many of these, because we're not getting any younger, so they're not getting any younger, and most of them retire. What would you say, Jack? 60, Susan, Doc, 65-ish, I would think, maybe 70.
I would say
From
most of them are probably gone no later than
Yeah.
65.
So I'm curious to see how those that are now tasked with protecting the win are going to track what those who secured the win have done. Because unless they've been very honest about things, this is when things could very well be accidentally released. I was also thinking about that contrast to compare to see if things have changed,
Well, this brings up another point before we move on. When you got that disturbed earth unfiled search warrant, that was in 2022, and I can tell you personally, since that point in time, I've had a very difficult time getting anything.
Yeah.
Very. So that tells me that they're worried that they've got something that's going to get accidentally released to the public that they don't want out there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's what it tells me.
Well, I think so it tells me they're still monitoring what's going on.
Oh,
right?
sure.
And that they, I don't know if we were discussing this in private or not, but when people do slimy shit, like if I did something wrong, I would try and get rid of everything. But when you're doing wrong at this level, you're doing it with others. And what do you do? What do you do to make sure that you don't end up holding the bag?
Well, I think that there's people out there that are helping them say, look, these people over here want X, Y, and Z. You need to be really careful about what you release because they're going to blow it up. If they find a problem, they're going to blow it up.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that. I truly believe that's also then part of what's going on.
And I believe personally that everybody's got a get out of jail free card in their back pocket with this case. So, because you can't trust the people you're working with. You know what I mean? So if you knowingly have done something to help someone get wrongfully convicted, and the people that you participated in that with are the kind of people that do that thing. If I was navigating those kinds of people, I would make sure that I had something that could potentially keep me from being the one blamed for everything.
I look at the again. I look at the disturbed earth document, unfiled search warrant, knowing that right after you got it and we released it, there was an email that was sent to the DOJ, not by any one of us, somebody outside. I've seen the emails. There's almost 100. I think there's like 118 or something like that replies because this person basically said, "Hey, what the F is this? Where's it at? What happened to it? I'm looking for answers here, whatever it was. It was really pretty direct. Basically, I demand.
You mean from someone from the public or?
I have not heard about this.
Yes, someone from the public that's been around not quite as long as I have, but for a long time, probably 2017, late 2016. They've been around a long time. There's almost 100. Once that got sent, this email starts getting bounced around all over the DOJ, trying to get somebody to respond, and nobody knows anything. No answers at all. This happened. I'm telling you, it happened. The email was sent right after it got released to the DOJ. and this thing
Wow.
bounced with.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, I've read it. I've seen the entire thread. It's crazy, and still to this day, here we are a couple of years later, no answers, no response. But I look at that, and I think to myself, okay, who all was involved here? No matter what this blunt and bloody object, and there are other things. Doc will tell you, there are other things listed in that document that we don't know where the hell they're at. They disappeared.
What do you mean?
There was other things found at Cuss Road.
Yep. But also
Uh-huh.
there was the mentioning of the additional bones and cremains.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
so that document that Sunshine Christina got, she was never ever meant to have gotten.
No.
That was never meant to have seen the light of day, because a lot of us over many years have been arguing about the importance of Cuss Road, and there was a constant denial that Cuss Road was anything but a peat moss bag and a rotten wooden pallet. And
you
then
guys
all
are
of a
you guys are crazy.
yeah, you guys are crazy, you know, you conspiracy theorists, and all of a sudden Sunshine Christina gets the blueprint of the making of a crime scene at Cuss Road, which then brings into the question that Susan asked last year about, well, how come they never went with trying to blame Stephen Avery for the events at Cuss Road, right? So it's a very interesting situation. So now what we're seeing is a blanket cover to ensure that that never occurs again.
And
Right.
yeah, I think that's what this release is. And what's interesting is that reminds me, I don't know if we discussed it or if I've seen it yesterday looking for the worksheet we discussed in last week's Reading with the Crew. There's a document on our website that talks about, and I want to say it's a communication between Kaczynski and O'Kelly, but don't quote me on that, where it says it gives Brendan's potential alibi, and it says that he was home on October 31st and phone records prove that. Now, that being said, when officially did the crime, was it determined that the crime occurred at Stevens and like publicly? When did the cops put forth the narrative that the crime occurred on Avery Road and not anywhere else?
Between this time and this time, I don't. Can you remember, Doc, Susan?
I
Was
do.
it something like?
I do. Yeah.
Oh, when Brendan supposedly took the mail, it was what, about 4:00?
No. What I mean, I didn't say that right. I apologize. When did the cops put forth into the public that the crime occurred at Stevens' property and not anywhere else?
I think Doc knows.
Well, when they gave there is no official time in terms of when the alleged murder took place. Kratz, in his March 2nd press conference, said, "We now know that sometime between 3:45 and 11:30."
Yeah.
So, and that's essentially the time that Brendan Dassey got home, and it coincides with the time that Blaine Dassey allegedly got home from his trick-and-treating at 11:30. Because remember, it was Blaine Dassey that said that when he came home, he saw Stephen Avery tending a fire. And as you know, we found a document from Carmen that completely debunked Blaine. And you're correct, Sunshine, because now by looking at these documents and getting a form of corroboration, as well as looking at the documents involving phone calls, the phone records, we can actually debunk and corroborate certain witnesses and debunk others. And I spoke with Jack 61 about this. By blanking out the names, you now no longer can do it.
No, it's an open vessel. It means something, but it doesn't mean that much because you don't have access to who said it.
Yeah. So if
And that-
you got the new records, you try looking up Carmen Wench. Her name is gone.
Yep. And she's the one that brought Blaine home, probably
She's the one that brought
8:15.
home. 8:15, 8:30. Correct.
Yeah.
Which debunks that entire narrative about Stephen Avery standing in front of a fire at 11:30. Because
Right.
remember what Kratz pushed? You need time. You need time to cremate a human being to tiny bone fragments. You need a minimum of 6 hours tending a fire. Well, if the fire was out by no later than about 7:45,
8 o'clock at the late. Yeah, 8 o'clock at the latest.
completely destroys the state's narrative.
Right. So
Was that your question, Christine? I understood it different.
Well, I mean, so yes, but no. See, I think the issue is that the crime had to occur on Avery property because Brendan had a rock solid alibi that could not have him leaving Stephen's property for the length of time for the narrative they had decided to go with, which was a violent essay, brutal murder, and a cremation, correct? Those things take X amount of time. And Brendan's alibi would not allow him, and they need him because he is the co-defendant, right? And so you have to look at it from, if you approach it from the theory that this is a created crime, right? We have to understand that certain boxes have to be checked, and there's certain things they cannot manipulate. They cannot manipulate phone records. They cannot manipulate the fact that he went to school that day and there is a record that shows he went to school.
I checked up. Checked up.
Yep. They cannot manipulate the time that Theresa arrived there, like with any large amount of time, right? Because she had other places that she went prior to that. So the crime couldn't occur before X and had to be concluded by X. So you have that block of time in which to create the murder.
It had to be manipulated. They had to manipulate.
Right. They had after 3:45 and before
11:30. 11:30.
Before 11:30. So between 3:45 and 11:30, they had to create a compelling story of a murder, of a sexual assault, a murder, a body burning, and a disposal.
And dismemberment.
And dismemberment.
And a dismemberment. Now, they knew it was going to happen at Stevens because not only do we have Brendan being there at certain times, but we also have the jail calls. So Stephen had to be at the property to take those jail calls.
That's right. They couldn't place him anywhere else.
So the disturbed earth search warrant could not work because in order for a crime to occur at another location with these two people being the perpetrators, there's too much evidence they can't manipulate to make that story believable.
And not only that, don't forget what Doc brought up a few minutes ago. This reply brief that Fallon and Kratz wrote about the clandestine burial site and bones being found there. That's only Cuss Road. It's the only place.
Yeah. And
But
so
but none of the lawyers ever saw this disturbed earth warrant. They didn't know. None of them did.
But-
That's including
but-
Loy and go ahead.
Also, they didn't have on the 7th of November, the day of Cuss Road, right? 7th?
7th. Yep.
Yeah. They didn't have Brendan yet.
No.
They didn't have the whole story.
No.
They didn't
a
have
story.
they didn't have the bones in the fire pit.
no, they
Nope.
didn't have anything at that time because they hadn't decided what they were going to do yet. So I think at first it was going to be Bobby and Stephen. Personally, I think Bobby was going to be the co-defendant, but
Co-conspirator.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
Bobby was going to be the snitch, get the plea deal, all that, because they had dirt on Bobby. We don't really know exactly what, and it's really none of our business, but we know that he had a couple of run-ins with the law, minor ones. It's what it looks like to me. Typical teenage stuff, not judging him, not at all. But then somebody thought that it would be easier to put Brendan in that spot than Bobby. And
Well,
that's, go ahead.
I was going to say, Sunshine, the issue is that Brendan was never in the picture until much later. So the issue is this. It came down to one factor. Did Theresa Hallbach leave? Yes or no? So here's the situation that Bobby Dassey found himself in. He implicated himself by stating that he saw Theresa Hallbach arrive on the property and take photographs. That means that the only two people on the Avery salvage yard that we know of saw Theresa arrive and take photos. And here's where it differs. According to Stephen, he went inside, put down the Auto Trader magazine, came back outside, and he saw Theresa Hallbach turn left on Highway 147. He also noticed that his nephew, Bobby Dassey, had gone in his Blazer. According to Bobby, when he left to go bow hunting, he didn't see Stephen, he didn't see Theresa, but he caught a glimpse of Theresa Hallbach's RAV4, and he left to go bow hunting. So that's the key critical element. Did Theresa leave or did she stay? So now you have a witness, Bobby Dassey, who's the pivot point. So I totally agree with you. The state could have easily made Bobby as a co-conspirator. Hey, do you have an alibi? Oh, what? You've got an alibi, a mutual alibi with Scott Tadich. That's really suspicious.
Yeah.
So they went with, so you saw Theresa Hallbach's RAV4 after you left? Yes, sir. Oh, that means that Theresa Hallbach was still on the property. Who was the last person there? Oh my God, it was Stephen. So hence, do you see the pivot point that they went with? Brendan Dassey never entered into the equation until March. February, March, late February, early March. He never even entered into the equation. So it begs the question, why didn't they go with Cuss Road? And you're correct. You know why? Because, Sunshine, as you pointed out, Stephen Avery was on the telephone for 35 minutes on his home phone.
Yep.
He phoned up, Jody phoned him twice, and he also spoke to his brother for 5 minutes. They can't place Stephen anywhere else except at home.
That's right.
No.
That's
And
exactly right.
and there's also that friggin' for sale sign
Yes.
that has never made any sense, the way it was treated in the beginning and then never spoken of again.
Discarded.
So, yep. What was it?
Xander Road.
Yeah.
And the road. But
The
you know,
Xander Road.
but you know what that was? I think it was either Jody or Stephen looking up properties.
Yep.
They were forward thinking about when he gets his big check, his big payday, they're going to buy a property.
Yep.
Because on the sign, you've got the real estate agent. I found it. They were looking at properties.
Yep, they were. Pretty sure that there's some evidence of that on the computer too.
Yeah,
They were looking
yes,
at
there
real
is.
estate.
Because what they did is they confiscated Stephen's computer and they found that it was Jody doing the searches.
Yeah, that's right. But you know, this looking at what they've released, I see it as a clamp on a lot of things that we've requested, at least so far, and basically saying we control them, and there's really nothing you can do about it, which to some degree is true. The only other option, well, there's two options. One's a mandamus approach, which I would never do. Look how they treated Henbury, and it was awful. He waited 20 months and was denied. And he shouldn't have been denied, but he was. Or the other option is to hire a lawyer, an actual lawyer, and take him to court and say, look, we followed your process, and you're just coming back and saying, well, we're not going to answer, this person, that we're just going to leave them in limbo, completely against the spirit of the open records guidelines that you guys wrote. If anyone doesn't know it, I've said it probably numerous times. If you read it, open records requests should be resolved within 10 days. Pretty much any agency in Wisconsin. Resolved, done. For simple request. For more complicated ones, okay, it could take longer. I understand that. I don't get mad about it. But to make someone wait, I'm here waiting, at least from my experience, that I can prove, 2+ years for a single file. One file. It's stupid. Please don't insult my intelligence. Just don't.
So, I sent you a couple of videos of Ashley Merchant when she took Fulton County DA Fannie Willis's office to court over the Open Records Act violations. You know what's interesting is that if you win, if we were to take them to court and have a compelling case, do you know that if they are found to have not yet, they have to pay attorney's fees?
Well, they could have to pay more than that, depending on what the attorney asked for. I already know that.
Right, because she asked for attorney's fees, and the judge said, I'm going to wait. I guess there's some case and appeal. She's going to wait to make sure it is resolved. You've been watching them too, so you probably know all this.
No, I don't.
Okay,
I think I watched the bulk of what you sent me, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say there's some case on appeal regarding open records, and they're pretty sure they know how it's going to rule, which is not going to change how the judge ruled in the Merchant Fulton County case, but they want to make sure for sure. And then she's going to assess attorney's fees, and she found the amount of $300 an hour quite fair.
Well, I think I can speak for everyone, at least at Foul Play. We're not interested in making money. Now, certainly, it would be great to get the attorney's fees returned.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, you got to pay the retainer, which I understand. Lawyers can't work for free. They eat too. They got bills just like the rest of us. So I get it, and they're taking a risk. So, I get that. But, I'm not looking, I've never looked at this case as a way to further my bank account. I'm sure, I know no one else. It's never been a discussion. In fact, there's been discussions against it. We're not in it to make money. Never have been.
No.
I'll stand on that. I'll stand on that to the toppest hill that I can climb.
It's not being financially rewarded for doing the right thing that makes it not doing the right thing for the right reasons for me.
That's right. Well, yeah, to me, it's to hold people accountable for what they've done. If they've done something wrong, which you know, it's just an opinion. I'm not a lawyer. I think this approach that, we're going to read some more of this document before we move into the next section. They use this balancing test numerous times to say, well, we've done the balancing test and we've decided that we're going to withhold that. That's basically what it's saying. This next part. Okay. And they cite one here, 1930. I think we've read at least. Well, we haven't read this either, I don't think. Pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 1935, gives a subsection balancing test. DOJ determined that the public interest in protecting the ability of law enforcement to gather information when conducting sensitive investigations and in protecting the privacy of citizens involved in those investigations outweighs any public interest in disclosure of information that could identify witnesses and other individuals referenced by witnesses. And see, they've cited another case, 1931, due to the sensitive and sometimes controversial nature of the homicide investigation. Public disclosures of the full names and other identifying information for individuals interviewed or mentioned during interviews could expose these individuals to unwanted public scrutiny, criticism, or pressure from outside sources, which could have a chilling effect on future witness willingness to come forward and cooperate with law enforcement in investigations of a similar incidents. Accordingly, the following information was redacted from the records for release.
Yeah, but can I just make a comment?
Yeah.
You see where the deviousness comes. They're trying to apply ubiquitous laws to future crimes.
Correct.
Right? They're not. This is not case specific to
No.
the Orbach murder investigation.
No.
This is basically putting on a blanket cover to ensure that future crimes which are committed in Wisconsin, particularly in their area, is not compromised, and that potential witnesses are unwilling to come forward because groups like Foul Play and other researchers are deep diving into cases. So now they're providing a blanket cover to potential future crimes.
That's right.
To potential crimes.
It's actually kind of worse because now you got to kind of dive a little bit underneath that and say, okay, Special Agent Fassbender and Investigator Uyghur go and talk to this person. This person says, well, I think Stephen and Brendan or whoever did this, this, and this. They've made an accusation, which leads to over here, which leads to over here. You understand the devious nature that snake trail could lead. Even if it's not true at all, it could create a situation for law enforcement or an investigator, whoever, could use that to further their case. So, again, I don't agree with this at all. I don't.
But
look, I don't have any interest in exposing anyone for,
no.
for them to be targeted. That's not what we're about. Go ahead, Doc.
But you know what the wider ramifications are for documentaries.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So you may potentially never see another MAM again, another MAM style documentary again, because if you notice, a lot of the primary information and documents were partially shown on the docuseries, right? Same with Convicting a Murderer. So imagine now if a documentarian wants to do a deep dive on a particular case, a historical case, then potentially law enforcement agencies can say, yeah, we'll give you the documents, but we're redacting all the important information out.
Right.
There you go.
It's national security.
I don't think that'll stand up. I just don't. Now they may be able to do a blanket release and redact everything, but there's still law that, like you were discussing, Jax, that makes it it makes it unlawful to not allow. See, this is like freedom. This is First Amendment or freedom of speech stuff. This is like government accountability, tightrope walking.
Which is what that's the spirit of the open records
That's
request.
right. Because
Transparency of what they did.
Because if you look, so it's saying that it's redacting VIN numbers, all right, and it's redacting DOC numbers, which is like if you've been to prison, you have a DOC number. The DOC number of anyone who's been to prison is something that is easily acquired by getting online if you are so inclined to search for it. So why would you choose to redact something that is part of when you commit a felony? That's just, par for the course, unless that felony adjudication is withheld once you're off of probation or something. Because if you're in prison, you don't have rights, which is the whole point of, us not being fans of EDPA and PLRA, right? Because you're not a citizen, you're not a whole person. Prisoner. That's right. So why would they not want to provide the information of why would that be put in there? I find that interesting.
Well, if you look at, I promise I'm going to move on after this. If you look at, and I know Christina's been through this, when you request through open records an officer's personnel file, there are procedures. They have been in place for years, and I understand them. I know Christina does too. I get it. There are certain things that should never be released about a police officer, ever, because you got to consider their safety, but not only their safety, the safety of their family. If they have wife, children, parents, you don't want them exposed. This is never what should ever be about. Now, if the family member's done something that they shouldn't do, that's different. That's a separate legal thing that you have to process. But if I request, I'm just going to throw a name. If I request Dettering's personnel file, there's a process that has to go through. Certain redactions have to be made. I get it, because I requested Singlub's personnel file way back when the whole Sawinski thing blew up, right? And I was told, and I said that I completely understand. I'm asking for X, Y, and Z. I don't need to know about his family or his address or all that stuff. But I need to know what happened when he was a cop, what actions he took, what reports he filed. And they gave me quite a bit. But this other part, this blanket saying, well, we're going to bring in another law and apply it to open records requests. That, to me, that's what they've done, which is not part of the open records law that I've seen. Again, I'm not a lawyer. If they made, and they do make changes from time to time to their own laws. And the history is recorded of what they've changed, what they've added, what they've taken away. But it goes on to say, Susan, you want to read this next 3 bullet points here?
I'm not sure whether Susan is available.
Oh, she may have stepped away. Doc, you want to read those?
Yep, under names of adult witnesses, that bit. Those 3 bullet points.
Yep.
Yep, no hassles. Names of adult witnesses, family members, and others mentioned by individuals interviewed. The names of law enforcement officers and other public employees mentioned in the records were not redacted. Point 2. Other information that would identify the above individuals, including dates of birth, home addresses, personal cellular telephone numbers, locations of residences, employment information, nature of personal relationships, license plate numbers, VINs, and Wisconsin Correctional Institution inmate numbers. Point 3. Full names of juveniles interviewed or mentioned by witnesses. Revealing the names of children who were interviewed is not essential to understand the information they provided, and other children simply mentioned in the investigative reports were not relevant to DCI's investigation. Additionally, well-established public policy recognizing the confidentiality and privacy of children and juveniles is expressed in Wisconsin statute such and such. DOJ finds that the same underlying public policy of protecting the confidentiality and privacy of children and juveniles outweighs the public interest in disclosure of the redacted information. See Wisconsin statute such and such. Quote, enforcement officers' records of children shall not be open to inspection or their contents disclosed unless certain exemptions apply, Wisconsin statute such and such. Law enforcement agency records of juveniles may not be open to inspection or their contents disclosed unless certain exemptions apply. Final point. The incident numbers assigned to individuals from the Winnebago County Sheriff's Office and the Eau Claire Police Department.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm going to pop a question, and we're going to go ahead and answer it now on screen. And it's from Jim Crane, and he says, "Who makes that call to release records or not?" Okay, so I don't know exactly how it works in the DOJ. I'm just going to give you what I think happens. The ultimate records custodian would be the AG, as far as these records are concerned, right? For DOJ, because he's the head of the DOJ. But because they receive so many requests for records, and I'm sure thousands of cases throughout a year, any given year, they have designated records custodians that handle requests pursuant to what applicable laws are, which is, as I said before, 1932 through 1938 or 9, whatever the hell it is. And under those guidelines is how records are requests are handled. Now, if it comes down to the nitty gritty of them saying, "Hey, we've got questions of what we're going to release," then ultimately it would be the AG that would make that decision. Ultimately, but I think on an ongoing day-to-day basis, they have guidelines that they have to follow. That's the best answer I've got. Now, for a county in Wisconsin, I can't say that this is how it is throughout the country, but at least in Wisconsin, in any county, the sheriff is the records custodian. Believe it or not, he is the keeper of the keys. I don't agree with that, because a lot of times the county sheriff will have direct involvement in any given case. He's made decisions. Anyway, they typically, county sheriffs also designate specific records custodians to handle the day-to-day stuff. Again, if it comes down to sticky situations, funny cases like Avery and Dassey, then ultimately the sheriff is the one that would make the call. We know what we ran into with Larry Ledbana. I know Sunshine certainly remembers this guy. He was a really difficult person to get anything from. He's the one that withheld 23 CDs from Rookie for years. When Major Tom Cummings took over that records, when Larry retired, within 3 weeks, he found these 23 CDs and DVDs of calls, hundreds of calls, dispatch calls, and radio dispatch calls within 3 weeks.
Well, I mean, but Jack, doesn't that bring up a high issue that we're seeing, and that is the individuals that have obtained the documents, the forensic evidence, they're the keepers of that information.
Yep.
Right? They're the keepers, and they're the ones that now decide what they're going to disseminate to the general public. So
Yep.
even though you do a FOIA request, there are documents that you may not receive because they've deemed it to be sensitive in nature, or you may receive a document that's just filled with redactions and is totally useless.
Right. And, I can't say for sure because I don't know the process. A records custodian like Larry Ladvana, if he gets a request that he's like, shit, can't let that go, that the sheriff doesn't even see. Because I'm sure a sheriff is not going to be looking every day. They're busy with, 100 different things. They're not going to look and see, hey, Larry, what request did we get today? Or go look at the email, whatever. He's not going to do it, I don't think. So they may not even know what their own records custodian may be doing. I'll give you a case in point. And this is real. I can prove it. I requested all open records requests and replies from Manitowoc
that was
County
an interesting request.
over a certain time period, and basically it was for about 5.5 years. I know they've got it, and I know they've got it separated, or it could easily be done by their IT department to do this, to gather this information. So him hauls around, we'll have to search and blah blah blah. Well, ultimately, what he did, he contacted one of the corporate counsel, one of the lawyers for Manitowoc County, about my specific request. And they chatted back and forth a couple of times. And ultimately, this corporate lawyer for the county says, well, couldn't that be quite expensive to, have to do all this searching, blah, blah, blah. Like they're going to have to do some kind of a hand search, which is complete crap. It's electronic. No doubt. For the time frame that I asked for, I didn't ask for something from 1950. So anyway, he comes back and does his whatever calculation. He was going to charge me like $4,950 that I had to pay up front for something that they hadn't even done. And
Right.
I think I replied, "Are you crazy? What are you talking about?"
But why? The whole idea is to dissuade you from pursuing further documents. That's the whole idea.
Which goes completely. That's right.
Yes.
But that goes completely against their own guidelines that a records custodian cannot deter a requester from seeking records in any way. But that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, correct.
Well, and so what I'm curious about is this is the DOJ file, right?
Yep.
This does not encompass what each individual agency did. So the DOJ can give us this file, but that's still, and if people, because like when I first started researching this case, I was green and I did not realize each law enforcement agency who had, a person who did work in this case, they're going to also have a report of what they did. And remember, it began with the chick from some small Minion. Remember Minion's report? That was my very first records request.
Yep. That's a great one.
Yeah. Yep. Started off with a bang. All glory to God. But, that really opened my eyes to how they were able to work under the DOJ, but yet at the same time, because everybody's got to get paid and they're spending our money because they're getting paid with tax dollars. And if it's one thing we all know is that they want a record. So we just have to think. We have to really contemplate how do you bill the taxpayer for the work you did on this investigation? This is how I approach this case. If I'm not doing it for the right reasons, but I still want to get paid for doing it, how would I get them to pay me? Okay. How would I
Right.
bill for it? And that's one of the questions I ask whenever I'm trying to find something, because that's the great thing about being a government employee, is that you have to make a record of what you're doing. Nobody's going to do anything on this case for the sheer joy of doing it. They're going to make sure that they get paid. And they were very vocal that this is the most expensive investigation they've ever conducted.
Oh yeah,
And so they were
Yep.
very proud of that.
and still costing them, I'm guessing, thousands of dollars a year because of all the requesting.
You know, that would actually, if we haven't done that, that would be an interesting records request. I think Jinxie and I talked about this, me, you, and Jinxie, actually. It would be nice to have an accounting of where every penny was spent in this case.
Oh yeah, receipts. Well, I did a records request, same records request with the DOJ that I did with Calumet and Manitowoc. Now, interestingly, this request that I made for every open records request and reply for the Avery Dassey, or the case, over a 5.5-year time frame. The funny thing is that Calumet, they first said, yeah, they've got it. It's going to cost you like 128, whatever. And I'm like, fine. Tell me when you're ready. And then a day or two later, I get another email. Again, this was from the time when Amanda Bennell was there. I open my email. I have a link, a Citrix link to 2 folders. Was 1,150 pages of records requests over their past however many years that I had actually requested. They didn't charge me anything. The DOJ, I made the same request, and I didn't get that many, and I know I didn't get everything, but I did get quite a bit of requests that they had received over X time frame, but they didn't charge me either. So that I know that Manitowoc had it available and easily accessible. They just didn't want to give it to me. So they're throwing out a big charge. Again, this goes into the spirit of open records request, which is what this is all about. Don't let anyone ever kid yourself. This is what it's all about. They're trying to keep things hidden, whatever that case may be. Doc, did you have something to say?
Well, they're shutting this case down.
Sure.
They're putting a lid on the case, and you see what you got on the screen, where it says numerous digital materials.
Actually,
that is the most important clause in this entire paper. That one there has killed the case.
Actually, I was going to ask you to read. Actually, just read that whole entire thing. This is going to be the last point. There's only 3 more pages in this anyway. This is going to be the last point that I'm going to make about this letter, and we're going to move on. Why don't you read that one?
And it really is critical. I'll read it. Numerous digital materials were collected by DCI for inclusion in the investigative case file. However, due to software issues and the inability to access some files with formats that have become obsolete or with contents that require players that are no longer available, DOJ staff is unable to access or view certain collected materials. Because DOJ is unable to view the content of those materials and determine whether any content may require redaction pursuant to statute, the common law, or the public records balancing test prior to release, DOJ did not include a copy of the content of those materials with the other records prepared for release. It is not in the public interest to publicly disclose the contents of the materials without the ability to perform a statutorily mandated review of the content first. Therefore, pursuant to the Wisconsin Stat 19.351A balancing test, DOJ determined the public interest in disclosure of the content of the materials is outweighed by the public interest in non-disclosure.
It's complete bullshit. It's complete bullshit.
Who gives them the right to determine that?
They're taking the right. They're saying
Yeah.
we've got them. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, I don't think I like that sentence right there can be picked apart in court. You can't determine that the effort it's going to require you to release the material is weighs more than our right
Interest.
as citizens
Yep.
to have access to said material in a case where a man has been wrongfully convicted.
Two men.
And multiple documentaries, because there's more than one available that take the position that there are people wrongfully convicted in this case. You of course you're going to say you don't want to do it because you don't want to be scrutinized. I don't think you have the right to determine the public interest should not be you should take the position that ensuring that what we did was indeed the correct thing
Correct.
outweighs the effort or outweighs the work and we would have to do this work. We want to make sure that you see we did what was just, not
They have more interest in burying the records than to trying to get help to play the record. Because I assure you, there's at least one, if not two, actual DCI reports, and we'll get to them, maybe not tonight, where someone has tried to access, something's been put into their DCI hard drive, servers, whatever. And I can tell you right now, there are certain formats that will not play from a hard drive. They will not. You must transfer that file to a CD or a DVD and then apply the software. I can prove that. I've been through it enough. And I can tell you right now also, I've got the email from Mark Weger that says, because I requested whatever the hell it was, some series of audio files. He comes back and says, well, that was made with using a Windows 90 or Windows ME computer, and we don't have access to a Windows ME computer. Therefore, we can't play it. And my reply was, I don't care if you can play it or not. Burn me a copy of the file and send it. There's no requirement for you to have to be able to listen to it before you can send me a copy that I'm aware of, unless it's a made up one, or they're applying this balancing test that they say, well, we're going to go my way and just keep it. Bury the record. Doc is right. This is critically important. But like I said, and we'll get to it, maybe not tonight, but at some point going through these files, you're going to see where this technician or whoever tried to decode or whatever you want to say, convert is the correct thing from the DOJ hard drive, and it wouldn't work. So they turned it over to this, I can't remember his name, first name's Larry. Anyway, he's a senior engineer or whatever within the video audio group at the DOJ. So he extracted the file itself to a CD or DVD, then applied the software. Boom, it played. And then he turned that over. And you'll also see numerous audio files, video files that were converted from these old formats. They've been converted. There is a certain person that has has those records of some kind of custodian that keeps the track of the audio video stuff. They're named in here. So I personally, I call complete bullshit on that paragraph.
Well, what they've done in effect, Jack 61 and everybody else, is they've done what's called a digital redaction, right? By
Yep.
using this blanket law, instead of doing a manual redaction using a pen to black out certain things, they've done a digital one, which
Yep.
means they've used your classic catch-22 situation. Now you think about it. This is a murder investigation. Every one of those documents that they're saying that they can't play back, they would have already decoded, listened,
yeah,
documented.
absolutely.
But what they've done, Jack 61, is very, very clever. They're saying, well, the original files are on some type of format that, oh my God, we can't get access to. As a consequence of that, because DOJ staff can't download, view, redact, we're doing a blanket cover by saying you're not going to get access to any of those likely thousands of documents, telephone calls, correspondence,
Interviews.
interviews, you name it. So you think about this. You go to any primary school or high school, and I bet you a 12-year-old kid knows exactly how to extract, document, and play any of those media files.
No
because
doubt.
a lot of the media players are backwards compatible for that
right.
particular reason. You don't need a particular operating system. So that is an excuse and an impediment to say, fuck you all. You're not going to get access to any of these files. When I read that the other day, I thought, you ripper. They've shut this case down.
Well, yeah, here's the thing, and you have to look at this. I have to look at this in another way. Let's just say that Mark Wiegert says, "Hey, I need access to the X, Y, and Z interview," and it's in, and we received a lot of these. It's a .vac format. We got basically, I can tell you right now that almost all of the Avery jail calls were in a .vac format, and Zoe had to convert them to an MP3 in order to create the video to upload to YouTube. You're talking about almost 1,500 files.
That's huge.
They were in .vac. The bulk of the Jody calls that I got were in .vac format. I had to convert them. No problem. They're saying, and it's listed in, you'll see in so many of the reports, these files were in VAC format, and they went to this Larry, whatever the hell his name is, for conversion. He converted it, made the CDs to MP3 or whatever the case may be, MP4, which is very current. It doesn't matter if you're playing Windows 11 Pro or Windows 95, and MP3 is going to play in any CD player.
Correct. There are batch converters, right?
Oh,
back in
absolutely.
Back in the day, you can get online converters for free that could say, okay, you want to convert MKV to MP3 or whatever, right? So select the files that you want, come back in half an hour. Oh my God, there's all your converted files. So their argument is, we're not going to give you the converted files that we've checked. We're going to block the raw data where you need to do a conversion because we can't redact it, which means you're not going to get access to it.
Well, it's even worse than that, Doc. I can bet almost, I'd put real money on it. All these files have already been converted to MP3.
Yes,
they've got a copy of that on CD or DVD now.
And remember, the prosecuting attorneys, the defense attorneys, they would have all the primary information, correct?
Sure.
Yeah, they would have it all. They would have it all because it's discovery. It's all part of discovery. How many times did Krat say, we listened to all the phone calls, we've got all the documents?
Oh yeah.
you're permitted to have all this stuff. So they've done all the conversions. They're already done. They don't want you to have access to them.
Well, that goes to the next step. It's like they think that we're stupid that these files haven't already been converted. It's like I'm saying. Let's just say Weir wants a recording of whatever. They convert it and make a master copy, CD or
Yes.
DVD. You're going to tell me that they just gave that one copy and somebody else requests the same thing, they're going to have to do it again?
No.
Don't insult my intelligence.
No. They've got a master. They would have master files. All they're going to do is press a button to either do a CD or a DVD or a print copy, because
right.
they know that a case like this has got worldwide interest. To me, the way I see this is they're shutting the case right down.
That's right. That's exactly right. So anyway, you're going to see this as we go through these files. Those that are going to follow along that have interest into understanding what they're doing. We want the full truth out there. They want to bury it. That's my view. That's my opinion, and I have a right to my opinion.
Yeah, they want to shut the case down. They're not going to succeed, because that's just not how it works. They can want all they want, but it doesn't change the fact that it's not their world, and they can't. You can want in one hand and do something in the other, and we'll see which one fills up first, right?
Yep.
Just putting it like that, because they can want it, but that don't mean they're gonna get it. And
That's
as
right.
long as there are people who are willing to seek the truth is out there to be found. Because, in my opinion, a lie is always a lie, and you can't make it truth. You can do your best, but the truth is still the truth. Whether you admit it or not, the truth will win out. So just putting that out there.
Okay, I've moved on to the next. Anybody, I'm going to link all these in the description. You guys can, go through these later if you want, but we're going to cover this. We're not going through this. This is the case report. And if you notice over here to the right, it says 1,100 pages. Well, I can tell you the case report is 1,117 pages. So I don't know what they've taken out, but they've taken something out clearly. That's number one. Number two, they've got an index here. It's got the various reports, the page number, and as you can see, they've already started their redaction, which is again kind of dumb because the case report is out there, and there is some redaction in the case report, but 99% of it is not redacted, right? I just wanted to show this one. There's multiple pages to this index. Actually, let me just do it this way instead of scrolling. It'll be faster. And here we go. We start right off the bat, and you can see, again, I don't really care about the date of birth, phone numbers. I don't want that. There may be some people out there in the world that may want that. An investigative reporter may find that information helpful if they're going to do research. But you can go through these, and this is what you'll see of what they released with the case report. Which, again, I find it a little strange that they would even include this, right? And what pages did they completely remove? Because the index itself, let's go back here. The index itself is 13 pages long. So that takes it down to 1,087 pages. So what did they take out? And I don't know. I haven't done a comparison. Maybe somebody will do that in the future. I don't know. I'm not going to, unless I get really bored. Want to show you that. And then there's another report. This one's 57 pages long. These are various reports that they included in. I really haven't been through all of this. I mean, it gives some things. This one's dated. The report's date is 11/8. I'm going to show you guys something else too when we get to it. And I forgot to bring it up. It'll just take me a second. Scroll over here. This one is a property release disposal, one sealed bag containing compact flash drive card. This is the, I'm pretty sure this is the card, the little SD card that was found in the back of Theresa's RAV. I think it is. I'm not positive of that though. Again, I haven't really went through.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, one, have we ever seen the contents of that SD card? The
Yeah.
alleged contents?
Yeah, we've got the photos.
Okay. And hypothetical, if an SD card had documentation of a crime on it and it was uploaded to a camera, would you be able to see, would the metadata show that the pictures did not originate from the camera and originated from the SD card?
I guess it would depend what all was included in the metadata, and a lot of time that's dependent on the actual device that's doing the decoding, or actually the device that it originated and what metadata is actually included in their software. That's a background kind of under the hood thing. I can't say for sure, Christina.
Okay.
If it would show a transfer, it may just show. Actually, it might show it in another way. It might show the origination date, and it might show the actual device that the photo was taken on.
Okay.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
each device has got a unique identifying number
Sometimes it'll even say it like a Nikon camera, and it'll give the model number
and a serial number as well. Correct.
That's right. That's right.
And because back in 2005, we were all really new to digital footprints, right? And
Oh, yeah.
I've often thought that from how some of these, the issue with the camera and their desire to get this camera of Stevens and then put pictures of Theresa being taken, during the crime. And I'm not the only one. There's others who have put forth this theory that they were trying to link Stevens camera to the crime, and it just didn't play out. And I think it's because there were people who were ignorant of metadata who were overridden by some person who had the knowledge to say that's going to leave a trail. And I was just curious.
Yeah. It's like this, what I'm telling you here about files being converted. Montgomery on 11.8, he's got this, I guess it's the flash card. He turns this thing over to the State Crime Laboratory, transfers the computer evidence denoted by DCI property tab receipt, blah, 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 to S.A. Montgomery. On 11.8, Montgomery duplicated the above media using NCase software. The NCase file created during the duplication process was then recorded onto one recordable CDR, which was then the prime site. So he converted it right here. This is one of the investigative files. So I'm telling you, it's my belief that all these files have already been converted. Anyway, I'm not going to go through this entire report. You're free to do so. We may do it at some point. And something else you're going to notice, we're fixing to pop over to the main file. A lot of these reports, DCI reports, also have, but a lot of these DCI reports that we got originally, it says see attached report, blah, blah, blah. And we never had it. They were not attached. We never had it, but now we do. They're ledgers, kind of a paper trail, which is important to have that paper trail, and I'm glad they included it. But now here we get to the main deal. We're going to look at some of these at more in depth. Others, they're worthless. As Doc said, they're absolutely worthless. 2,250 pages, and I'm going to tell you, I haven't recovered the last couple hundred pages. I'm just kind of going through these and looking at them, kind of making highlights in my brain to see what they've done. So let's just kind of start, and I guess this is kind of the beginning of it all. Well, you know what? First, I'm going to show. Let me unzoom this a little bit. I want to show you guys something as comparison. Back out one more time. So this, you can see this talks about authorized operators. I guess these are people that have access to everything, I guess. I don't really know what that means. I really don't. But it gives a number of people there. Certain dates. But there's some information that's probably missing from that file, and I'm fixing to show you why I can say that. Initiating case report. This is another one. It's got Stephen recorded. As you notice, there's no mention of Brendan. And then Theresa, it's got the vehicle listed. And it talks about, I think that talks about them getting involved on 11/5. But there had already been some calls made to the DCI. This is investigative report number 1. Okay. Let me see if I can pull something up here right quick as comparison. You guys can talk for a moment if you wish. This will only take me a second, I promise. Okay.
I find it interesting that the date is the 7th.
Okay. Got that pulled up. Okay. This is a copy of the original that we got. Now you can tell it's a pretty crappy copy, but you notice all the headers that are included here. And one of the most important ones, record status information, and it will give you the last updated date. This record was started on, it says occurrence date was 11/9. That's when it was reported. And the last updated date was 11/21 by whoever. Now, again, this may tell us nothing, but then again, it may tell us that they came along at some point after the original date and changed something, right? If you look here, okay, this is the record that we received from the DOJ. This is number 1 that we got now. That's number 1 that we received originally. So they've removed a lot of this header information, and it's that way on every report that we got, the new ones. They don't give a lot of this information down here. It's cut out, and it only says narrative begins below, blah, blah, blah. See, it's all cut out. I noticed that immediately when I opened this file. I'm thinking, oh my God, what else have they removed?
They've gone through every one.
Yep. Why would they remove that? It's part of the record. Boom, original. Boom, what we have now.
Yeah.
So they've taken a scalpel and removed. Again, is it important if they've come back a couple of days later and had to make a change? Probably not. If they've come back, after MAM was released and taken a scalpel to something, yeah, that might be important to what was originally there, and they've made changes to it.
Go back for a second. Go back to, hold on. Yep, right there. Telephone, e-addresses, number called. Have we looked at that number?
I haven't. No, I haven't looked up. I've just basically gone through the files. I haven't actually dug into anything.
Isn't that weird? Telephone, e-addresses, relationship. Number called. What is that phone number?
I don't know.
I don't either. Hold on.
It says mention Fox Valley from Metal Auto Salvage.
Oh, it may be the number to the scrapper people. Do you know he got busted for tax evasion? Or actually, what he was doing was he was intentionally loading. He was intentionally making the vehicles heavier with mud to increase the weight at this on the scale, and they like penalized him like $15 million or something, and now his daughter runs the scrapyard. Yeah, I think you're probably right, but I'm wondering why it says number called and not the name of the owner of the phone number.
I don't know.
Yeah, what is that? 231-8187?
Yeah.
All right, and I wonder why they wouldn't redact that.
Well, it's a business. I don't know. Yeah. A lot of things they didn't redact. Like, you'll see as we go through here, Brendan starts getting mentioned, and it'll have exempt by his name, but they include everything. They don't redact any of it. Except maybe his date of birth. That might be redacted, but Brendan is exempt, but he's not exempt. Anyway, I'm just going to skip through these. If you guys see anything of interest, you're going to have to speak up, because, I mean, a lot of these we've already got, and there's really not much to talk about. I mean, they, like I said, they've got the report. It goes through. There's, more redactions, whatever. And then nothing else included. But later on, you're going to see. We'll just skip through some of these. This is number 3. And I will say that there are dozens of reports that we didn't have that they have included, but they redacted the hell out of them. Like Doc said, they're freaking useless.
Have you tried to unredact any of them to see if it was done? No. Okay.
Properly?
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess these are done properly. That they're done front and back. You can't remove the redaction. I know that some PDF files from a few years ago you could. I have not tried. That. I mean, like this one here, they said they've interviewed someone. They've got it redacted. We have no idea who they are, other than they're a 35-year-old white male. That's it. And that could be there. You've got an open vessel that Kevin Hammerl and Alan Hussader went and interviewed this person on November 6th at 9:35 a.m. You can't. I mean, we probably got this one, but again, for anybody new that picks up this file, they're like, okay, it's basically they're feeding the cops some information of some type, but we don't really know who they are. I don't agree with it.
Well,
this one here. Yeah, go ahead.
Essentially, if you're starting the case now as a new researcher, you might as well give up.
Well, yeah, because if you don't know that, a lot of these files are out there that are unredacted, and somebody new may not know that. They may find it out later and say, "Damn, I wish I'd have known that, 6 months ago."
Yeah, instead of going on a wild goose chase. But the thing that it does, it's interesting because you and I, we and the Foul Play team in the library, we've got the majority of the documents. So it's very interesting that when I do a search, because I've got the documents on my computer, when I do a search, I actually compare the unredacted documents with the redacted documents, right?
Yep.
When I do a particular search for a particular search term, and you know what comes up missing? All the redacted documents. They don't come up because they've redacted out the important information that I'm searching for. So I went to look for Carmen Wench, who picked up and dropped off Blaine Dassey. No, can't find it. Her name is redacted.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting, isn't it?
Very. This one here as a neighborhood canvas, that whatever that's redacted. interview location, only in Two Rivers. And then we have 4 people mentioned, and they're all redacted. And then this, I'm sure the accompanying document, see, there's just tons of redaction included in it. Another neighborhood canvas, we have for another 4 people redacted. Again, the date of births, I get it. I'm less concerned about that. Then we have huge tracts of redaction. Another neighborhood canvas, 2 people redacted. One person interviewed, another one was mentioned. DCI report number 7. This is an interview of Dawn Pliska. We know who Dawn is. She has this amazing conversation with Theresa, who she's never really talked to before. To say, it's just ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah.
and it remains unredacted. The entire thing is there. Another person interviewed. More redactions. Another neighborhood canvas. I'll just kind of skip through these. Bones from the burn pit of Avery property. Now, I haven't read through all this. Okay. This says the report date is 11/9. And a lot of times, especially the originals, it'll have an occurrence date. And I think a lot of these, it's missing from what they've turned in, what they've submitted now. The occurrence date is missing. But this says 11/9, report status date 12/20. I'm guess that's when it was actually filed. So, 6 weeks later, basically. Of course, the burn pit incident was on 11/8. I'm not sure why the report, I guess, they give them a data to write it, I guess. It's got Bennett. I don't remember the name Debbie Cravens. Does that ring a bell, Doc? Debbie Cravens?
No, it doesn't.
Dr. Eisenberg, and of course, Stephen Avery, person of interest. And it gives, various descriptions of things in inventory. And then it goes on through the report. Again, I haven't read this version. I don't remember what all's in it. Then, of course, now here what I was talking about before, we have a chain of custody. Now, we've seen this one before. Box of bones, a white box containing, numerous bones, bone fragments. And then, of course, this was taken to Bennett for him to go through. And then there's more of things that they collected. Let me see, where is it? This says 11/9. I don't remember. I mean, we've got some photos. I remember a zipper slider, but I don't remember it being found at the burn pit. I do remember it being a zipper slider being found elsewhere. Grommets, fabric, so on and so forth. I'm not going to read through all that. I don't remember these objects being specifically found in the burn pit, but were found away from there. Moving on, DCI report 11, interview of Barb Yondo, 11/9. This is the interview that we've got the absolutely horrendous recording of Barb. It's awful. I mean, to me, they've added white noise to that recording to make it extremely unpleasant to listen to. That's my personal opinion. And you got Blaine as illicit exempt, and Brendan. This is, as far as I know, this is the first mention of Brendan anywhere. It's Compatney and Wendy Baldwin that were with Barb on the way to the Aurora Medical Center for buccal swab and finger and palm prints. And that recording, which is listed here, that recording, if anyone's listened to it, it cuts off. Part of the end of that interview was missed. We don't have it. And it gives the evidence deposition. And here's the, I guess, what they're, I don't know what you'd call this, property release disposal receipt. Is something that the DOJ uses. And this recording got sent to Queso. That's Wiegert's signature. He didn't get it until March 1st, 2012. March 1st, 2012. Basically almost 6.5 years after the fact.
Wow.
2005, end of 2005 till early 2012. The DOJ kept that recording. We're going to see some other interesting things that weren't released until 2012. Another receipt. I guess it's a copy of the warrant. I guess for her. I guess DNA and so forth. And then the underneath copy. I don't know why they included that. Yeah, there's just a copy of the Miranda warning. Moving on to the next one. Transfer of evidence, Stephen Avery. This is on 11/9. We got Kapatny and Deb Strauss. She's all throughout this case, guys. She don't like Stephen Avery. She
was even
wants
at the burn pit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she was. That's right. Finger and palm print cards is what I guess this is talking about. Then it's got the receipts attached to it. Submitted for fingerprint, palm print, bearing the name of Stephen Avery. And then, it's got Steve. It's got everybody that they went and took to the Aurora Medical Center, all the stuff that they took, and the accompanying ledgers, chain of custody. 13. This is interview of Sadoff and Iron and Metal. I guess that's a business. Yeah. And it's got several people listed. I don't know why those people were not redacted, but they weren't. Interesting. Again, as you go through, you'll see some people are redacted. Even though they were interviewed, they're redacted. But some people aren't. So they pick and chose who and what to redact based on, I don't know what all. I don't. One redaction in that report. Interview of Samuel's Recycling. And, as we know, Doc's talked about this quite a bit. They called around to these various iron and recycling businesses about, doing business with the Averys.
Yeah. And remember we talked about the discussion about how difficult it would be to get rid of a car that's been crushed.
Oh yeah, that's right. They wouldn't, unless you torch that car, you're not going to do anything with that evidence except squish it. It's still findable.
No, correct.
Here's one interview of someone that we'll get two that's interviewed and one that's mentioned. They got redacted too. We see that Chris, Earl, and Chuck, Steve, they're not redacted. Goes through that report. Again, people, if there's anything you want to dive into, you're gonna have to tell me because I'm just gonna keep going. Brian Dassey, he's interviewed on 11/6. They redact the location. I don't get that. somebody gets missing in a business for some reason, they need redaction. I don't really know why. That doesn't really make sense. Assist State Crime Lab with vehicle search. This is on November 7th, and this is from Skorlinski. So he's at the crime lab. You know, there might be some photos attached to this. Remember, on 11/6 around noon, Skorlinski Miss Marinette County, but Skorlinski and Doc, do you remember? Was it Strauss that was there too?
At Crivets,
Yeah, when they pulled over
there was Baldwin and O'Neill.
Baldwin and O'Neill. Yeah,
O'Neill, yeah, correct.
but there were also DCI agents that came too.
Yeah, Skolinsky was there. Yeah, I'll
Was
have
it
to double
Strauss?
check. I can't remember if Strauss was there, but I remember reading a couple of reports in which they basically got the warrant to go get Stevens a Pontiac Grand Am and the flatbed truck.
That's right, and that's what this is about. It's exactly right. So they pulled them over. They were going after sodas. They pulled them over, and they took the Grand Am. And then at some point around noon, they also took the truck, the flatbed, which they
There it
allowed.
is. Larry,
Yeah.
Jerry Suave,
There you go.
and there's
There you go.
O'Neill, Baldwin. Yep.
Exactly right. They also took the flatbed, which Chuck insisted that he drive because he was afraid they would
Damage it.
Well, because you have to know how to change the gears, and then there's a high-low switch to put the rear axle and high-low if you're going to be on the highway. I've driven a truck like that. It's not hard, but you got to know what you're doing because you can damage the drivetrain. So it got took as well. It's got Avery's Grand Am and the flatbed. Nope, doesn't have the photos in that one, but there are some photos. Some ones a lot of these we've seen, but there are some that we haven't. Contact with Barb Yonda on 11/6. Which is weird that this one's in here after the one on 11/9, which is above.
Yeah, some of them are mixed up, unfortunately.
Well, I guess it really depends on when whatever state which agent depends on when they turn it in, because it gets. I guess they get filed by the report date and not the occurrence date, which is really misleading. It's truly because some of these are wildly different. I mean, months apart. And I can talk specifically more about that when we get to it, but it's on down the road a ways.
And that's why now with all the redactions, it actually makes it much more difficult to determine chronology of events, and determining chronology of when certain things took place is very, very important.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly right. So this interview with Barb, it's got Fassbender, Skorlinski, Heimerl, Seiler met with. Okay, so you got 4 agents meeting with Barb Yonda, and niece Carla, who's the daughter of Chuck, at the Avery Auto Salvage Road.
I think this is the one where she had to write a chronology of what she did throughout the entire week.
Correct. I think you're correct.
And kept on making mistakes.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I know that on one of the later reports that chronology is attached. Not in that one, but it is in a later one. I remember seeing it.
Yes.
Here's the transfer of the Pontiac. It's dated 11/12. It says the current date was on 11/8. That's not right. That Pontiac was taken 11/6. Sorry, it was.
Yes, it was.
So I'm not sure. Maybe I ought to do a comparison to.
Well, you know what the controversy was. The controversy was that the Toyota RAV4 and the Pontiac Grand Am were in the same spot at the same time, being
Yeah.
swapped by the same person.
That's right.
Yep.
That's
So
exactly right.
they needed to separate the days because remember what Pagel said? Oh no! You can't keep them together.
So they
Oh, look.
didn't. So DCI, if the date DCI is claiming they received it is the 8th, but
Mhm.
Okay.
in reality they got it on the 6th.
We don't
Yeah.
have the. I don't have it.
Or
I'm looking at my.
no, what if they in reality they didn't get it to the 8th, but they're trying to say that they got it on the 6th, and this report actually contradicts their oral narrative.
Yeah, and the date they did the swabbing.
Yep.
I'm looking at my original files, and they go from. I've got 15, 16, 17, and then it skips to 20. I don't have 19. Son of a biscuit, man, that's irritating. Okay, well, I can't do a comparison yet. I'm going to look around to see because they took that Grand Am on the 6th, so that's incorrect. Let's see if this says November 8th. In order to transfer the Wisconsin, the blue 19. Why are they saying the 8th? That's not right.
No, but I remember going through this ages ago, and I found the original reports in which they actually put the 8th, right? Because they had to try and separate the times and dates where they swabbed both vehicles. Because I remember when they were questioning Cole Haynes, she goes, no. I did the swabbing of both vehicles at the same time, which is not what you're meant to do. You can't have the victim's vehicle and also Stephen Avery's vehicle in the same spot being swabbed by the same operator.
Hell no.
Right? Because that's very easy to swap a swab or whatever, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And she controlled all the swabs anyway, so.
You did all the swabbing, correct.
Okay, I'm going to dig into this one, and I will. See? 11.6. It's even attached.
Yeah, correct.
What? What? Come on, man. Don't make it that easy.
Yep. And there's the 8th. See the 8th?
Yep. Come on.
So does that mean that the car was in limbo for 2 days?
Well, that's kind of what they're trying to say, but were they saying they took his Grand Am and just stuck it in the Marionette, I don't know, somewhere in Marionette, didn't take it to the crime lab, but took the flatbed? Come on. No,
Nah,
that's not what.
that's
No,
ridiculous.
that's not what
That's
it
the
is
first
to do.
thing that you would swab.
Yeah.
Stephen Avery's, you would swab his car first, just in case you find Theresa Horbach's blood and
Of
DNA
course.
in it.
Of course. Okay. Now they didn't bother to block out the vent on his Grand Am, so I guess it's okay for his to be open. Okay. Blanked out interview, redacted. Don't know who it is. Got several people redacted in the subjects. I'm not going to go through that. Okay, we got a drawing here. I'm not sure who provided that because there's so much.
Looks like that's Redon.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's right.
That's where that's where you reckon he saw the fire.
Yeah, that's right.
Into a
That's
barrel.
right. Yep. Exactly. And this is his handwritten note, probably.
Handwritten report. Correct. And look at the redactions.
Jesus Christ. Why would they redact a handwritten note?
I got no idea. That's completely crazy.
More redactions. I haven't tried. I remember looking at this as well. Went through, but I didn't really read it. That's for another time. 11/12. They actually got the date right on this one. The report date's the 12th. Search scene burn pit. This is from Sturdivant. Good God. And Strauss. Okay. I have not read this one. Not sure that I have it in my original. This is 21. I do have 21. Okay. No, that's for another time. Subjects of interest, person of interest. We got Avery's Auto Salvage Yard, Charles Avery, Stephen Allen Avery, and the victim Theresa. Okay, this tells a story that I'm sure we've already read. I'm sure we'll never understand why he did what he did without, first documenting the scene. But we've never seen this before, as far as I know. I don't.
This is new. This is
This
new.
is new. Yeah.
And have a look at the location of the bone.
Yeah. They never photographed.
They never photographed it and never collected it.
No, they didn't. Yeah, that's really interesting that we're to rely on a drawing instead of them taking a photograph and collecting the actual bone itself. That makes a lot of sense. Sounds legit, right?
Yeah.
We teach our agents how to draw instead of using more modern technology or camera or video camera.
Photograph. Yep. Correct.
Yeah.
I think Brendan has better drawing skills.
Even in stick figure, no doubt. Theresa May Hallbach, this is law enforcement contact. Doesn't tell the location. Maybe see here we got Brendan mentioned. He's exempt, but they don't exempt him. Leave it open. Gives the vehicles. There's actually also a Chevy Silverado of K250. I don't remember this one. Blue. I don't remember this. Anyway, let's see what this is about. Granite County. This is on 11/5. They're to residents. I guess the cabin in Marinette. Yeah, okay. So Strauss was up there. Deb Strauss met with
She was
Tony.
everywhere. Yeah, Deb
She
Strauss
was. Oh yeah.
phenomenal
Absolutely.
flip. Phenomenal flip.
Yep. Okay, they made contact with the Avery family. Okay, we're going to move on. I'm not going to read this entire thing.
Well, I think, Jax, this probably at some stage requires a closer inspection, especially if there are new DCI reports that we haven't seen before. I know that they've included pictures that I haven't seen before, which has been really useful, including stuff for Brendan. So, yeah, I reckon it's definitely worth a revisitation of some of these reports.
Well, I thought about this as soon as I saw it. I thought about maybe talking to Zoe, getting some help. But what I thought I would do, there's a way to separate these reports individually, but it's a time-consuming process.
It sure is.
Yeah. But there's a way to go through and separate and make each report its own, like we have, now individual reports, including, the attached, documentation, whatever comes with that report. Yeah. And creating a new folder in the library of this specific release. But for sure, I'm going to extract the photos that are included in the various reports. Just extract them as a group.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. My comment is, be wary though that every report has been very closely vetted.
Oh, no doubt.
There are unfortunately no potential gold nuggets in these reports.
Well, yeah, I agree with you, other than the fact that they've taken such pains to.
Yeah, unless you know what you're looking for.
Absolutely. Going through and reading each. This is a, statement form. from Chuck Avery. Never seen this drawing before.
No.
Never seen it. And this says my place. I'm gonna guess. I don't know whose that is. It's certainly not Chuck's.
Kind of looks like Steven.
Yeah, but his place is not there near the shop. This is way down the road. I don't know who that's from. Oh, that's more for sketch by Charles Avery.
Avery. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's Chuck.
you were right. It is Chuck.
I don't remember a shop across the road from his place. Because he lives down the road there a little ways. Maybe there is. I'm just not
Yeah,
remembering.
no. I think the way he's done it, he's transposed it. So he squished. See the two arrows pointing to the right. It indicates that they were further up. That's what it indicates. Or further up, because he drew. He only had limited space on the paper.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. Interesting. And then we got another drawing of some type. I really haven't studied this at all.
Well, have a look at that picture. Have a look at that picture. That's done by Stephen. And if you notice, what's he got on Highway 147? Theresa's RAV4.
Yep.
There you go.
Come down, making a left.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Got Ma's, or me, I guess that's his trailer. And then Barb's trailer right there. Yeah, okay. Yep. That's right. Okay, next report, number 23, interview of Stephen Avery on 11/6. Of course, we've got a recording. Pretty much everything of Stephen's recorded, which is, that points to me. People can believe me, not believe me. This is just an opinion that there are far more recordings that we don't know about that were not mentioned in the reports, because some of these reports they're many pages long and told in the narrative. And they're detailed. So we've got agents here that we are expected to believe that didn't do certain things, but they are able to write this detailed report from memory, from maybe a few notes they've jotted down as they're talking to someone. I'm going to tell you, I don't believe it. I think many of these conversations, interviews were recorded and later used to create their narration. That's me. I could be completely wrong, but that's what I believe. Anyway, this interview is Stephen on November 6th. I'm sure this is up at Cribbets at the cabin. We're not going to go through all that. And see, this one's multiple pages long. This keeps going. And it looks like we have another drawing by Stephen that we've never seen before. I've never seen it.
No.
Stephen's got his place, Barb's place. The burning barrel listed. I don't know why that's supposed to be. Maybe it's supposed to be right there, I guess. Yeah. Okay. All right. Moving on. Another drawing from Stephen. I'm not sure what this is. I guess that's the conveyor road. Yeah, must be. Redactions. All right, moving on. Number 24, disposition of evidence, transportation of items to the State Crime Lab by Special Agent Joy. And Joy did this, Matthew Joy did this quite a bit throughout the case. We're not going to go into that. This gives numerous things that they've transported from CASO. These are CASO property tag numbers. Of course, some of these, when they came back to CASO, they got reassigned a new property tag, which is really interesting, instead of using the original. I don't know why they wouldn't do that, except to bury something. There are a number of interesting ones. 8318, content sifted from the burn pit. That's an interesting one. 2 keys. There's numerous things. And then we're going to have the, I guess, chain of custody. This was filled out on November the 8th. And it lists out, I guess, pretty much everything he's got listed in his report. Another chain of custody. Evidence disposition and transfer. I guess this is where it ended up. This is 11-9. Simile is part of that one. New report, number 25, interview of somebody. Bunch of blank out, redactions. Number 11, approximately. Okay, see, we're going to get nothing from this. I don't know if we've got the original or not. Okay. I got these photos. It's been a couple of years ago, if I remember, Doc and Christina, I think. But this is the, yeah. Notice the date down here. It's 11/16, which I don't know why they're doing back. Maybe they got permission to come and take these photographs, showing this wagon, pinto wagon, however you say, blocking the road.
Well, the theory was that it was Stephen Avery that opened up the back road to bring in the RAV.
Right.
They had an argument with Chuck, and Chuck says, no, Stephen didn't do that. My brother Earl did, using the end loader.
Yeah, that's right. And you'd have to have an end loader because the back wheels are off of the wagon, so you can't just roll it.
No, correct.
Yeah, I think I got all these. I'm sure I did. I got all those a couple of years ago, which were interesting. Number 26, photos taken from property on 11/11. If it describes property from the blank property, I'm guessing that's Redont. Located adjacent. Okay. Previously learned that blank had observed a fire coming from the area near Stephen Allen Avery's residence on Monday, October 31st. Huh. So if those photos, he's got this saying Friday, November 11th, but the photos are dated the 16th.
No, I reckon they're copies. I reckon that's the date they were copied. They don't look like originals. Because remember we did the podcast where they took photographs in the general location where Redont saw the fire coming from Stephen's residence, and they actually went behind and took the photographs looking up from that location. That's where they came from.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Here we go.
Yep,
I guess. Okay. Yep. That report's talking about these photos on the 11th. Okay.
See the 11th? Yeah, that's where the photos come from.
Okay, that satisfies that answer. I don't think we've got these photos, but I could be wrong. I don't think we do, though. I'm almost positive we don't.
I've only seen one. This one here.
That was in Cam, right?
Yep.
Isn't that interesting that they would have the photos and we couldn't get them?
Oh, they got a lot more. They got a lot of stuff that we don't have.
Oh, absolutely. Brenda's got a whole lot of stuff that we don't have, and she refuses to share.
You notice on the right-hand side, the height of the how low the photographer is, and there's the top of Bear's kennel. So from Redont's position, he could never see the burn pit, and he couldn't see anybody else either. He wouldn't be able to see burn barrels. So he guessed.
The burn barrel is way up here.
Yeah. Yep.
No, wait. Okay. This is the garage.
So it's further up. He wouldn't have been able to see the burn barrel.
No way. No way. Not from that view.
No, and of course, the photographer is much closer in a different spot.
That's right.
You're
This is
right.
this is the actual Deer Camp Road here, right? Yeah, it is. I know it is.
That's the road that Redon turned left on, and
Yep.
out of a glimpse of his eye saw a flash, a glow.
There's no way he would have seen a burn barrel fire
Or a fire.
unless it was a burn barrel fire. And you can't, I just burned some stuff in a burn barrel. It disintegrates so fast.
Unless you're feeding it, standing there
Yeah.
feeding it, right?
Right. And I mean, and you would have to stand there and feed it constantly because the ash shrinks.
Right.
And yeah, it's yeah.
But if you notice what they've done, sorry, Sunshine, see this picture here? This is the one that they presented in court. And this is the one that they were trying to convince the jury that that's where Redon was positioned to see the fire.
Right.
Except you can clearly see it's not. The photographer is much, much closer. And if you notice, there's a big dip, right? He's much lower than the cars.
Yeah.
So Redon's position was, I think, 15 to 20 feet below the Avery salvage yard because it was dug out.
I mean, you can see that even the top, the height of these cars right here, these vans and so forth.
Yeah.
He's several feet. If you did the perspective, he's several feet below the sight line.
Yes, he is. But he's not where Redon was standing.
No.
Jeepers, these guys, I tell you. That's
here.
That's where Redon was. Redon was there.
Look, you can see that there's a buildup. You can see it right there.
Correct. It's been dug out.
This is probably where he was.
Yes.
And they realized that would never fly. So they had to adjust.
Go closer.
There. Yeah.
That's go closer. So when they, because I found the report in 2017, where Zona tracked him down, and Deidring went back and said, well, what did you do? What'd you see? Because as I was driving, in the corner of my eye, I saw a glow. I kept on driving. That's it. That's the sum of Redon's observation of a fire. He saw a glow in the corner of his eye. That's it.
Nothing. I mean,
Zero.
I'm not sure if you remember, Christina. I know Doc probably does, but if you look at the photos that McConnell took, Trooper McConnell, you can see the Deer Camp Road. It comes down where he's at right now. Then there's a curve that turns here and goes down the other direction.
Correct.
I'm pretty sure that leads to the trailers, right? Am I remembering that right?
It leads to the deer camp.
Yeah.
If you continue that road, it leads to the deer camp. And here's the irony. At the deer camp is at the same level as the Avery salvage yard. Eye level.
Right. That's right.
It's all the stuff in between that's dug out.
And this road, if you were to go backwards from this direction, you end up at Cuss Road.
Yes.
This is also a good. This puts into context why they did not want the jury going out to the site.
Oh, absolutely,
100% correct. So they put that image there, the one that's got 11 of 11, in court to say, hey, look, Redon would have easily seen a fire. Right? And of course he couldn't have.
See, this is on down the road where the elevation, you can clearly tell, has come up from where it was back at there. You can clearly tell that.
Correct.
Glad they included these photos.
I wonder if somebody had posted last night that ASY is for sale.
Yeah. I think it's been for sale for a while.
I wonder if the family, if I was ever to make it to Wisconsin, if they would allow me to walk the property.
If they still own it, if they still own it, I'm sure they probably wouldn't care.
Yeah.
Contact them beforehand. Contact Barb. I talk to Barb from time to time. She could probably be a conduit. She didn't live there anymore, obviously, but
Yeah.
Just noticing here, this photo here to me looks like it's another photo they've zoomed it and then took a photo. And there's
Yeah.
there's a couple of people here. There's a guy here. There's a guy
You see
here.
three of them,
Yep.
and
And I
they are
see,
they're much closer to the photographer.
I see the lights here that are up there. There's 2 lights. I'm
Mhm.
sure there's a generator over there. Anyway, see how far down he is at this
Yep.
location.
and have a, and guess. Look at this. Look at this. There is the glow right on the middle van of
There.
the light of the sunlight.
And those back windows.
Yep,
Boom.
in the back windows, which is exactly what I hypothesized that Redon likely saw, the setting
Well,
sun.
he's turning and saw a glint. I'll call it a glint.
Yep.
I'm sure there's
Yep.
another word for it.
Yep,
My God.
there it is. You can see it.
And let's not forget, time change had just happened as well.
Correct.
Right.
Yes, it did.
That's right. Okay, moving on. Series of search warrants. Vehicles, 19. Okay, he gives numbers here. 11-6. Grand Am flatbed on the 6th, not the 8th. Come on, man. Just told on ourselves. Unless I'm missing something in that prior report, and I'm gonna check this out when I have time. Tell us where they get conducted a traffic stop. I'm not sure why they stopped a traffic stop because I don't know what you may have done wrong. I don't think you got a ticket for anything, so they just stopped him just because. The vehicle stopped pursuant to search warrant. Okay, they already had the warrant in hand. Anyway, Skrolinsky, I know they took control 12:30 of the Grand Am and the flatbed, and they took them to the crime lab. Dated this 7th day. What? I have hereby certified victim of the within warrant. I seized a 1993 Grand Am flatbed located in marijuana and have now the same custody in the direction of the coordinates as the 7th. And even the number is wrong. You had to correct it. Okay, that's weird. That's weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's see if this is dated. The warrant's dated. Served on 11/6 at 12:15 p.m. Boom. There it is.
Oh, yeah, it's the 6th. No question about that.
No question. This is the date of the warrant was the 5th, so they had already planned on. Baldwin wrote that up for them. She's so handy. Let's see. Okay. And then next one, the number 28, telephone contact with Chuck Avery.
Go back up to where the fax paper at the very top and read the date off. What does that say right there?
11/12/2005, Saturday, 12:57. So they've sent a copy of whatever this is on the 12th.
To someone. Yeah.
Yep.
That's interesting.
It says Andrea email. I don't know what that means. Telephone contact with Chuck, and we may even have I don't know if we've got a copy of this or not. Actually, I don't think we do. I know that Chuck called several times and talked to people at Manitowoc, and he talked to people at Queso. Remember those calls?
Yeah, everybody. He was not a happy camper.
No, you guys damaged my property. You're going to pay for it. Which, of course, I'm sure they didn't.
No.
If they did, it probably was very little. Chuck was asked about any other safes on the property. Said his parents may have a safe in the house. I know that they destroyed their big safe in the office. And I remember, maybe I'm remembering this incorrectly, but Didn't Alan Avery say that they stole about $6,000 out of their main safe in the office? It sat thousands of dollars. I do remember that, and I doubt that he ever got it back. I don't remember ever seeing that money inventoried. Anyway, search warrant execution of Charles Avery. This is number 29. So they went in his house and did what they did. Miranda warning on the 9th. And then the search warrant itself. Is the search warrant. Next report, the 30th. Contents, entities exempt from disclosure. Interesting. Let's start at the top. Interview of someone, a 19-year-old. Somebody's mentioned. They're also blanked out on numbers. I'm sure it's all going to be blanked out, and it is. I don't know if I have. I'm going to have to go through and make a comparison of the ones that we actually have to the ones that we don't. To see how long this one is, but it wasn't recorded. I don't believe it. I do not believe it. Then we have a map. That looks like a lady's handwriting. Could be wrong, but I can't read it. I don't know what that right here at the bottom. Let's say Avery. Avery.
That's Avery Road. That's Avery Road.
Okay. All right. So we don't know who created that drawing. Next report, interview of Earl Avery. Okay. Now we're getting into some stuff. This is the first interview. This is on the 8th. Again, I don't know if we have. I think we've got this one. Lewis and Gary Steer of the Calumet talked to Earl. I'm sure we've got this one. Again, it's pretty lengthy, and it allegedly wasn't recorded. And we've got another drawing we've never seen before. Number 32, execution search warrant. Alan Avery on the 10th. I think this is for, buckle, fingerprint, palm print. There's probably several of these. If there are, I'm just going to skip through them. Okay. See all the attachments that they included, which we've never had before. Interview of Brendan Dassey on the 10th. This is from Skorlinski. This is 33.
Yeah. That's when he told him to stop protecting his uncle.
Got in his face.
Yep.
Got angry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know if most people know this, but there's a recording of this one.
Wow.
And it's not listed. See, it's not listed anywhere. Not listed. I don't think it's not listed on the other one either. But this one is recorded. And I'm going to get a copy of it if I can. There's a hitch to that, but I'm not going to go into now, but it's so ridiculous. Anyway, yeah, we know he got into his face. 34, interview of Charles Avery on the 11th. Again, I don't know if we have this one or not. Got several suspect vehicles, which the RAV, well, that's the victim's vehicle, the Chevy Malibu, the truck, so on and so forth. Okay, making sure. I didn't skip anything. And then again, the narrative goes through several pages. Number 35, contents entities exempt from this disclosure. Interview location. And then we have several more redactions. It says exempt, and it's Blaine. So this is Blaine Dassey. So he's the one interviewed right there. But they're saying he's exempt, but they left his name there anyway. To me, it's hypocrisy. If you're going to redact, you redact it all. Don't play games. If you're not going to redact some of it, so he's identified. Come on, man. Another lengthy interview that allegedly wasn't recorded.
You know who they redacted? Cornelie.
Cornelie.
Yep.
Yep.
Blaine was at Cornelie's house.
Yep. And then the phone call of Cornelie as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
36, another one contains exempt from disclosure. This is the one from Charles Avery. Okay, this is the 6th. And again, this is what? That Charles. Okay. Again, we have another report that's later than reports than they got above. It's really confusing when it doesn't follow a chronological timeline.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's on purpose or not, but the end result that it's confusing to the reader.
Very, very much confusing to the reader. Correct.
We've got a 6-page report again that's allegedly not recorded. And then we got the handwritten notes. Number 37, execute a search warrant of the Avery Auto Salvage Yard office on the 5th. Oh, I'm sorry, on the 8th, the current date. This is, I'm sure, another warrant. It's probably not the first one. Could be probably out of order. But I feel certain that they had already been in there. And they, lists off the evidence that they took. And then here's the warrant itself. Number 38, photos taken of southwest entrance to the Avery Auto Salvage on 11/11. Matthew Joy, and then Thelin, I guess his name. Memorex CD containing digital photos, one Sony 8mm video. And these photos are attached. The video is not. I don't think we have these photos, or I don't think we have them all.
No, I don't think we did. But it's interesting. That's there's a lot of interest in that particular area. And I believe that's where the friends of Theresa were.
Oh, yeah. The five friends.
The 5 friends? Yep, the 5
Yeah.
friends.
And I can't remember if it was this car that they picked up. There was
Lifted
one
it
car
up.
that
They lifted it up.
they did put a belly strap on it, picked it up, or got that end loader. I don't remember. I don't know why they took a photo of those dents. Don't know what this is. It's just a photo of something. Another photo of nothing. I don't know what that's a photo of. Maybe there's descriptions somewhere that gives us more detail.
That's interesting because normally when a crime scene investigator is documenting, like taking photos to document a crime scene, for each photo they take, there's a corresponding, like they write it down when they take the photo. Yeah, each photo they list photo 1 is, and then they explain why they're photographing, what the photograph is, and there's a little marker there, right? I mean, that's like crime scene 101 stuff. And do we have that at all in this case?
I don't think so.
I mean, I know we have the little tents and cones, but we do not have one piece of paper that
A
I know
descriptor. A
of
descriptor.
of the roll of film. Now, I think when we got some WSP requests, some of those had explanations for the photos, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but
That's
I
right.
don't, there's none for any of the county or DCI investigators. And that is
Right.
so unusual and such
Right.
a high profile, expensive investigation.
And now we reach DCI report 39, interview of Jody Stokowski. I'm going to tell you guys, this interview was recorded. She's in jail at Manitowoc. This interview was recorded. And I'm going to tell you, those of us that know me, this is the recording that I've been trying to get for, 26, 27 months that they've yet to give to me. This one right here, for some reason. It's one, I requested one item. One. Still don't have it. Anyway, it goes through and gives a report, again, several pages long. That's why I'm telling you, I feel certain that a lot of these interviews were recorded, and the recording was not introduced into their report. Anyway,
Yeah.
we've been at it for almost 3 hours. I'm going to cut it. I think we're going to look at 40, and I'm going to cut it. We can start on 41 for the next time, and continue to go through these. That'll give us a week to do more deciphering, maybe discover more irregularities within these reports. Anyway, this one contains entities of exempt, contact with Barb Yonda on 11/8. I honestly don't remember this report.
That's when Barb came back to get some stuff from the house and also feed the dogs, but they wouldn't allow Stephen in.
Is that what that is?
Yep.
Okay.
They wouldn't allow Stephen in. They kept him at the checkpoint.
Okay.
Oh, and they let her get the mail or whatever.
Yes.
I remember that.
Yes.
Okay.
Have we seen
No.
it? Doc, have we had the report?
Yes, we've had this report. Correct.
Okay. It'd be interesting to compare the two to see if anything's been changed.
Yeah, I tracked Barb and Carla when they came to the property to feed the dogs.
Oh, mean old bear.
I
That'd be
am-
like somebody. Yeah, that'd be like somebody trying to say Tank was mean because he looks it. You know what I mean? But people who have had any kind of interaction with him, or it would be very hard nowadays to do what they did to Stephen because of social media. Because
I think
you
it'll be
know,
impossible.
yeah, because
It'll be
social
impossible now.
media allows you to express yourself in such a way that's recordable.
Yeah.
They've got to get more creative when they're doing these wrongful convictions.
That's right. There's so much. We do have a couple questions I want to, and I apologize because I've been going through this file. I'm going to scan right quick, see if I've missed any questions as we
What's
went
this
through
photo
here.
of here, Jax?
It's the cargo area of the RAV4.
That's what I thought.
I just go through. I try to go through and pick a photo that we haven't showed too much. There's a question I missed. I do want to say hello to so many that have joined us. Our followers, 3 RAV4s, Kelly McAlien, True Crime Fangirl, Jazz. There's Jazz Nash. Woo. I have missed a few questions here. It looks like, and okay, I think that's it. Let's go through these here right quick and see if we can answer these before we go. You want to read that out, Doc? This is from Kansas.
Yeah. Has anyone managed to talk to Luke Berg about his decision to leave his AAG job. Not me. I am.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these lawyers, though, they and I think everybody will agree, they use a job like being an AAG as a
Stepping
resume
stone.
boost. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a resume
stepping
booster. Yeah.
I think I remember looking into this, Kansas. Isn't he doing like privacy contracting work? So even though he's not working for the AAG's office, he's at what do they call it? A public interest group that supports the AAG's office.
He's probably
I
working as a consultant.
I
Yeah.
can't really answer that, Christina, because I honestly don't know. But I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I remember looking into it. Now, this was, of course, a couple of years ago because I thought about, because sometimes I think people will change their tune when they leave government positions. But when you see that even though they're not working a government job, they're still working a government job, just privately making more money, you know that they're going to keep saying the same thing. They're just getting paid more to say it now.
Right. And some people even change when they get into the system and they see what's things that they don't really agree with that's going on within government or whatever that particular office, and they're going to go a different direction. Like, who's the name of that author that was the prosecutor for so many years, and now he's the truth.
Oh, you're talking about the guy that talks about
He wrote a book.
Yeah, he's the one that says that the unindicted co-conspirator theory, right?
That's right. That's right.
Is that Cicchini or somebody else?
Not Cicchini. Godsey.
Godsey.
Godfrey,
That's the one.
Godsey,
Godsey.
something.
Yep,
Yeah,
Godsey.
isn't he out of Ohio, I believe?
Sounds right, but I don't remember for sure. But he was
Yeah,
a prosecutor, and he saw a lot of inequities in the system, and he's like, you know what, I'm done with this. Yeah. Anyway, that's the best we can answer that one, Kansas. These people, they use the AAG as a stepping stone and move on. We've seen it happen time and again. All right, let's move on. Kansas got another question. Christina, can you read that one?
Would it be in order to make a FOIA request for the names of all attorneys who worked on drafts and final form of this DOJ release?
I think that would be a legal request.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be. Go ahead.
Yeah, we don't need to know their phone number or their address or even the date of birth. Just who are these people that helped draft this out? Yeah.
No, that would actually be an interesting request to make. Good idea.
Yeah, and you guys, I've said it before, but many, I'm not going to say all of them, but certainly many, if not most of the people involved in this records request department are lawyers, or at least paralegals. They have knowledge of the legal system. So, okay. That's an interesting one. And then our last question that I saw is from Kelly McGilly. And Doc, can I read that one?
Yes. Does Zelna know which files they are trying to keep from you? Is it possible she just doesn't know about them? If there is something interesting in them, she may want to know.
I'm going to say that she's requested these documents, all of them, and that she has them in unredacted form, but I don't know that. I don't.
I do know that anytime I have gotten something that I thought she might find interesting, we have reached out and submitted it to her. And she has responded at least once, maybe twice. Does that sound about right? To let us know that she has received it.
She's never responded to anything I've sent.
Yeah.
And I haven't. I haven't sent like, thousands of things. I've sent things that I
Mm-mm.
thought were interesting that she might not have over time, but
Yeah. And I've reached out like 5 or 6 times in how long I've been researching since 2018. Wow. 6 years now, 7 years. And I've probably reached out, I'd say half dozen times, and I've
yeah,
had 2 responses. And they were very brief, and there was no follow up.
Yeah.
So, and they have to be very cautious about interacting with us as
yeah,
civilians
yes, very,
because,
very careful.
yeah, they don't know. One, you don't know, like, if it's law enforcement trying to, intentionally trip you up. You don't know if what is being submitted is accurate. And or and so I can understand their hesitation from
Yeah.
a criminal defense attorney standpoint to, just willy-nilly respond to people. Because especially in a case like this that's just so ugly, you just don't know what is there a line they won't cross? I mean, I can't say that it's clear they won't cross this line. I know in the beginning there was a lot of people that would say, oh, they would never resort to, and there was, fill in the blank. I can't say that in this case. I can't. I don't know if there's anything they wouldn't do to keep a lid on this. And
Well,
it
I
saddens
don't
me to
either.
have to say that.
Oh yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I'm all for all the honest law enforcement that we can afford, but I'm not for hiding the truth in any capacity. Just put it out there, and it's got to be dealt with. I want to say hi to Barb. Thanks for joining us. There is another question. Where's it at? I just saw it. Yeah, okay. It's 2 parts because 3 Rev 4's kind of cut himself off. Says, when and how long did Buting and Strang walk the crime scene?
They did.
Yeah, but I don't know how long they were there. Was it a couple hours, Doc? It
I
seemed
would
like
say so.
maybe.
They put I remember they had scenes of this in MAM, and they put a video camera. But of course, you think about it. By the time they got on the scene, what had happened to the burn pit?
I was destroyed.
It was
Gone.
destroyed.
Yeah.
Correct. And they would talk to Chuck as well.
And so this crime allegedly happened in November. And
October
I think,
31st.
October
yeah,
31st.
yeah, I'm sorry. It happened the end of October. And Buting and Strang didn't take the case until when?
Strang came on at the end of February, and I mean, Buting had 2, but he was finishing another trial case, so he didn't actually, I don't think, walk in until a little bit towards the beginnings of March. I think that's right.
So they were so far behind the 8 ball at that point.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how much they got from Loy. I can't answer that. Only Buting and Strang could answer that question. I can't imagine that Loy would have, held anything back. I mean, what reason would he have to do that? He seemed like he was a decent public defender that was really trying to do his job. That's what I get from it, from everything I've read. So anyway, go ahead.
I was going to say, and there's a bit of controversy, Jack 61. 3Rav4s wants to know, is that picture Theresa's Rav4 or another exemplar Rav4?
Well, I mean, my mind is not close to the idea that there's another Rav. I need more to prove to me.
But
Right?
that picture, is that the Rav4 that's that Calumet's got? Is that
Right.
Theresa's right?
Right. Well, it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be.
Okay.
That's part of the photographs that
We're talking about the photo on the screen, right?
yeah.
Yes, because no one can see any blood.
Thank you. I was hoping someone else was going to ask that question. I'm not seeing any red spots at all. Oh wait, there's some right there, Jax.
Yep,
Right there
that's
on the
Theresa's.
edge.
Yep,
I
that's
zoomed it.
Theresa.
Yeah.
Yep, that's hers. And of course, the big issue is there's got to be a carpet mat missing because there's no blood. It doesn't appear to be any blood.
There's a straight
or
line.
existing blood. Yeah. On that
Blood
carpet.
doesn't flow like that. I'm not a scientist, but blood
No.
doesn't flow in a
No.
straight
No,
line.
it doesn't.
And then it just ends. So that straight line tells me, and I know it tells Doc and everyone else, there was a
Something has
mat
been
back here.
removed. Something has been removed.
That's right. That's exactly right. And of course, let's see here. Let me see if I can. I don't know if this got metadata attached to it or not. It may be January 15th, 2006, 2:42 p.m.
Right.
Right there. See it up there.
Yeah.
So anyway. All right, guys, unless there's something else, I'm going to get us out of here. It's time to eat. We've been on 3 hours. It was actually an hour longer than I intended, but I think a lot of these things, we have to discuss them kind of along the way. But my intent is to continue on through this file. It's going to take, several podcasts to get through all of it. A lot of it we're going to skip because it's, there's really nothing we can discuss. They're blacked out. You'll see it when we get to it. There are others that are going to require time to discuss through. Sunshine?
So we're stopping on 39. So what page is that?
Well, we're stopping actually on where the hell is it at here? Actually, we'll be starting on 41. We got through 39 and 40. We're starting on 41.
So page.
That is page 235. That's where we're going to be starting.
And how many pages are there in this?
2,250.
I know, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's going to take time to get through it all, and that's fine. I don't mind spending the time.
No, the more we talk about it, the more we, I don't know about anybody else, but the more time you spend studying something, the more you learn.
Oh God, yeah.
And what questions can we derive out of it, and potential other future open records requests? Because hey, look, I don't care what they released. I know Sunshine doesn't give a shit. I'm still going to send an open records request for what I want. And they're either going to have to approve it and give it to me or deny it and tell me why. It's just that simple. That the open records law has not changed. So for me, I appreciate what they've released. I do. That doesn't let them off the hook from what the open records request law is. So anyway, you guys got anything to add, Doc? Christina?
No, not at all. But I think a couple of things that is really great that we can go over this in the fashion that you've done, Jack 61. I think it's very important. But the other thing is, thank God, we've had a lot of the unredacted documents. Otherwise, we'll be totally in the dark.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God, we would just be so screwed. You'd be like, well, okay, thanks, but yeah, I agree totally. Christina, anything you want to add before we hop out?
I'm good. Good podcast as always. Enjoyed discussing the case with y'all. Thanks to everyone in the chat for coming, and I look forward to our next discussion.
Doc, are you going to try to have a reading with the crew next week, or you don't know yet? Maybe.
Look, I reckon I will. I'm putting it all together now, and I tell you what, get ready. The gloves are off.
Yeah. yeah, I know there's so much to go through, but okay. All right. Well, we'll plan for next weekend for kind of the same thing we did this past weekend, just more of it. So, want to thank obviously Doc and Sunshine and Susan. I know Susan conked out. She had to work today, so she's pretty tired. I'm sure she wanted to eat and get some rest. I want to thank all the people that have joined us in the live chat. Certainly, if you have suggestions or questions, whatever, put them in the comment section after the video gets uploaded, or contact us, any of us on Discord about this. As I said, I will go back in the description and I will give you the link to the 4 files that the Department of Justice released, and you can do your own thing with them. Please do. The more that does it, the better we are. With that said, a second here. I got to get that on. Okay. I'm going to say one more time, this has been a Foul Play production. Thanks, everyone.